Greetings, all gallant sailors on YouTube. Welcome to Abyssal Recap. Today we will continue our bald but bold series with the 2011 movie called Blitz. Spoilers alert. Buckle up and take care. Brandt is a hot-headed police officer who often whacks suspects. Brandt himself is fine with it, he is used to this kind of law enforcement anyway. But the chief asked Brandt to behave in case of too much influence. Late that night a female police officer was patrolling the streets, and got shot by a man at close range. The man immediately fled the scene, the officer was shot in the neck and died. Soon Brandt received the assignment and arrived at the scene. The deceased officer was from his police station. Due to the heavy rain that night, not a single clue was found. The only witness didn't reveal useful intel either. But this witness actually knew Brandt, because last year there was a psychopath in the pool hall attacking others, and got beaten by Brandt's violent enforcement. Brandt's old supervisor, Bruce Roberts, was on a long vacation because his wife had just died, causing the position to become vacant. The police department transferred a new Inspector Nash to their department. During the police investigation, the murderer committed another crime, shooting a police officer on patrol. Afterwards, he also contacted Dunlop, a newspaper reporter, revealing himself as the killer and offered to make Dunlop famous by giving him first-hand details. The stake was to directly report it without any secrecy. Because he had to kill a total of 8 police officers, which is obviously to provoke the police. Police officers were killed one after another, but the police have no clues. The murderer was prepared, and his face was covered under the surveillance during his time of crime. But Brandt made his own investigation. From his own whistleblower Radner, he learned an important clue. Few days ago someone uploaded a video on the internet, in which he burned a police dog alive. The killer even claimed that it was in practice. That's obviously hinting the murder. After that, Brandt didn't reward Radner with any payment. Soon Brandt and Nash investigate the location of the person Radner told them about and the clues he once mentioned. After opening the door they judged that this person could be the murderer of the police officer. However, Brandt and Nash naturally could not sum up yet. The two men found nothing in the room. When asked about the video of the killing a police dog, the killer denied that he had done it, he just uploaded the video. Brandt then recognized this man. He is the lunatic who was beaten up by Brandt in the pole club last year. Brandt, who often wanders among all kinds of criminals, had realized that this man is most likely the murderer based on his reflections, and his frenetic experience in the pool hall last year. But they do not have solid evidence to prove. When the two left the building, the murderer immediately began to pack up his things, and Radner was watching from the corner of the murderer's residence. He saw the officer's investigation, and also saw the murderer busy leave shortly afterwards with his bag. And the murderer went all the way to a parking lot and stopped in front of a tireless car. At this point Radner headed to the dumpster in the killer's apartment, trying to find some evidence to sell for a good price. Radner found a receipt of the parking lot, with specific coordinates on it. The killer started to follow Brandt's former boss, Rylance. He disguised as a television technician. Then pull out his gun against Rylance. Rylance quickly knocked off the killer's pistol. But he was overwhelmed by the killer's physique. The killer brutally murdered him with a hammer. He didn't flee right away, but took a resting warm shower instead. Then took Rylance's police uniform and other items before setting the place on fire and left. Soon after the fire spread and the fire department arrived, the murderer calmly called Dunlop at the apartment building and explained that he had killed the third police officer. Dunlop disregarded the brutality of the killer, only thinking he could make a name for himself with the news. Nash saw the newspaper report and was furious, condemning the unscrupulous media for amplifying the impact. He and Brandt discussed and found out that the murderer had a pattern of his killings and that is the fact all victims were from their police department. But there was no more clues so far. The crime scene where Rylance was killed has been destroyed by fire. Only a gym logo was found from half-burned object which made Brandt even more convinced about his conjecture. Radner found the killer's car. He cracked open the trunk and found Rylance's police uniform and pistol. He did not call the police for fear that Brandt would not reward him. So he contacted Dunlop and offered that for £50,000, he could tell Dunlop the real identity of the killer with some more evidences. For the sake of fame, Dunlop accepted the deal without hesitation. Led by Radner, Dunlop found the evidence in the trunk of that car. But what unbeknownst to them all was that the killer was spying on them from afar. Then the killer relocated the evidence right after they left. Radner and Dunlop are still unaware of this, they were bargaining at a bar. The murderer, on the other hand, showed up at the bar. Radner was terrified and trembling when he saw him. He told the murderer that he hadn't revealed his name, but the killer wouldn't let him go. As Radner was begging, he was drowned in the toilet and having his money taken away. The police department soon received the report and sent Brandt and Nash to the scene. They were furious with journalist Newsleak when they heard the story from him. Dunlop even wished the killer to commit more crimes. The two then found the killer's car, however the evidences had long been moved. Unfortunately, the parking lot surveillance was broken, so they found nothing. Even the murderer's modus operandi was not clear. In the evening, Brandt looked up the suspect's profile again. It can be said that this man had committed numerous crimes, but when Brandt turned to his previous arrested records, he found that the first police officer was exactly the first victim. Brandt instantly understood that the killer was taking revenge on the officers who had arrested him. Then, the next target would be Elizabeth. He bet his gut that the killer was this person. After that, Brandt immediately had a team of police officers sent to protect her. He also called Elizabeth, who had just come home and was about to open the door. The killer suddenly attacked her from behind and the two instantly caught into a brawl. At the critical moment when Elizabeth was about to be executed, a teenager suddenly jumped on the murderer's back and grappled him. Unfortunately, he was no match to the killer and Elizabeth watched quietly as the teenager was butchered by the murderer. At this point, sirens broke the silence. The murderer sensed the danger and immediately fled, leaving only Elizabeth's heartbreaking crying. The teenager, nicknamed Metal, turned out to be a neighbor of Elizabeth. The two were childhood friends. Because he was a member of the gang, he also became Elizabeth's informant. One day Metal approached Elizabeth in fear and said he was in big trouble. He and two friends may have killed a man. Faced with her childhood friend and now her own informant, Elizabeth could not stand by, so she found Brandt to help. With Brandt's referral, she received the intel. The person who was beaten by Metal did not die but was injured, however an imprisonment would be inevitable for Metal. That day when she was attacked by the killer, he was waiting for her to ask about his imprisonment, but ended up saving her with his life. Back to present time, having their colleagues again attacked, Brandt and Nash could not stand it. The two still rushed to the killer's residence, but the killer has long fled. He was squandering the money taken from Radnor in a costly hotel. Brandt and Nash rummaged through the closet and found nothing. They decided to issue a wanted notice of the murderer. Once the warrant was issued, a witness soon provided a clue. Then Brandt and Nash led the SWAT team to the hotel to make the arrest. Brandt saw the murderer on the balcony and immediately fled. Brandt chased him right away. The killer was rapid and canny, but Brandt successfully caught him, even though they had him arrested. But Brandt and Nash's interrogation did not go well. The suspect had all evidence either destroyed or hidden. The crimes were not captured in the surveillance cam. He claimed that the car in the parking lot belongs to him, but it had been parked there for 6 months. Theoretically, anyone could steal it. The gun and weapon used by the murderer were either found. Worst thing is that, within 48 hours, they had to release him. Seeing that the time is up, the police still didn't dig up any evidence. Brandt provoked him with his shameful defeat back at the pool club. Soon, Blitz was released because of being void of evidence. The police were overwhelmed with frustration seeing him walk free. A few days later, Brandt attended Rylance's funeral. The killer also joined it with his crime pistol and Rylance's uniform. In the mid of the funeral, Brandt left alone. The killer chased him all the way to a parking lot. Then followed Brandt up the stairs to the roof. Then he pointed his gun at Brandt, but when Brandt turned around, he realized that the man was Nash. Then the real Brandt appeared from the side using a crowbar to knock out his pistol and smash the hack of his face. But he was still not giving in. And laughed at the two that even having him arrested would still let him eventually walk free. But this time they did not intend to give him such opportunity. Before his release, Brandt deliberately agitated him to get him hooked. Blitz did fall for it. From the time he showed up at Rylance's funeral in his police uniform, he had fallen into their trap. Now the pistol that slaughtered the cops was in their hand. They would be able to claim that a police uniform fetisher was killed by the serial killer who had mistaken him as an officer. Brandt decisively pulled the trigger and killed him right at the scene. After that, the two collected the pistol and crowbar as the murder's weapon. Before leaving, Brandt commented, "The serial cop killer case will never be solved from now on." At the end of the story, Brandt showed up at Dunlop's and taught him a moral lesson. That's the end of today's video. If you do enjoy watching it, feel free to leave a like and consider to subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Abyssal signing out.